So the Philadelphia Eagles just took their first loss of the season in an embarrassing effort against the Jets in what may have been this team's worst showing in 2 years, with the offense really struggling, especially in the second half, and just about every one of the Eagles' offensive players having costly mistakes, including Jalen Hurts, who may have actually cost the Birds the game at the very end. However, despite the poor effort from the players, the coaching was just as bad, and there's an argument to be made that if something doesn't change fast, this could ultimately end up being the downfall of this Eagles team, and that's not to mention all the injuries that the Eagles suffered in this defeat. So, is it officially time to panic? Well, we're going to talk all about that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So after beginning the season 5-0, the Eagles were looking to keep it rolling in this game versus the Jets, who had yet to beat the Eagles in the history of their franchise, as in all 12 matchups between these teams before, the Eagles had come away with the victory, and I think it's safe to say that most people didn't expect anything different in this game, considering the fact that the Eagles are thought to be one of the best teams in the league, while the Jets are just trying their best to remain competitive with Zach Wilson at the helm. So that's why the outcome of this game was shocking, as the Jets defeated the Eagles by a score of 20-14 in what was just a really embarrassing performance from the Birds, mainly offensively. And what makes this loss so much worse is the fact that as the game was beginning, the 49ers, who were the only other undefeated team left besides the Eagles, had just lost their game to the Browns, so this was then a golden opportunity for Philly to get ahead of them in the standings, but ultimately they blew it, and there were a lot of reasons why that happened. So let's start at the beginning of the game, where the Birds actually started off really nicely as the defense got the Jets off the field really quickly on the first drive, which was the start to what was ultimately a really good day for Sean Desai's crew. And then on the Eagles' first offensive drive of the day, they went to work, with Jalen Hurts carving up the Jets defense with some impressive throws, including one where he was rolling to his right and it looked like he was about to be taken down, but he stiff-armed a Jets defender to hold him off while also making a great throw to A.J. Brown for a key third down conversion. And then Hurts proceeded to lead the offense all the way down the field, and the offensive play calling on this drive, I must say, was also very creative and interesting. I mean, we saw some different personnel groups being used than what we're used to seeing, and different types of motioning being put on display, so I was definitely liking how the offense was looking, and this really long and successful drive got the Birds their first red zone opportunity of the day. Not all went well on that drive though, because Eagles All-Pro right tackle Lane Johnson went down with a lower body injury as he got rolled up on, and he ended up leaving the game and he didn't return. So the loss of Lane was and is definitely a huge issue. I mean, it clearly affected the Eagles offensive line and in turn the entire offense in the Jets game, and moving forward, if they don't have him, that's going to be a big loss, especially considering he seems to be a constant in the Eagles winning football games. I mean, since the Birds drafted Lane, they're 84, 48, and 1 with him starting, and 13 and 23 without him. So yeah, safe to say not having him would be a huge deal. Now, as of now, according to multiple sources after Lane Johnson's MRI on Monday morning, his ankle injury isn't that serious, and it's better than the Eagles originally thought it was. And according to Jeff McClain, Lane Johnson feels good, and he's going to try and push to play versus the Dolphins this Sunday, so that's definitely fantastic news. And let's just wish Lane Johnson a speedy recovery, because the Birds need him, like I just said. But getting back to that opening drive by the offense, now that they were in the red zone, this is where the real test began, because obviously up to this point in the season, the Eagles' red zone offense has been arguably their biggest problem, and it looked like they were about to stall out yet again here, with a 7-yard loss by Boston Scott on 1st and goal, and an incompletion to Olamide Zaccheaus in the end zone on 2nd and goal, so it was really looking like another Jake Elliott field goal was coming. But then Jalen Hurts had a nice 7-yard run on 3rd and goal, and on 4th and goal, Hurts ran it again, where it looked like he was going to be stopped short of the goal line, but he was able to power through defenders and extended the ball over the end zone for the score. So overall, it was a really amazing start to the game by Jalen Hurts, and it looked like him and the offense were on their way to potentially having a big day. But of course, we know that's not what happened, as their first big mistake on offense came on their next drive after the defense had held the Jets to a field goal, where the Eagles offense started to move, but then Dallas Goedert was hit while trying to make a catch. The ball popped up into the air, and Quinnen Williams came away with an interception, which was the first of many turnovers for the Eagles on the day. But luckily, this one didn't cost the Eagles, as the defense, like they did all day, showed up in a big way. Hassan Reddick got a sack on the Jets' second play of the drive, and New York ultimately ended up turning it over on downs, and then the Eagles offense capitalized as they drove down the field yet again, with A.J. Brown having a huge catch and run of 49 yards to get the Eagles down to the goal line, and then the Birds finished the drive off with a Jalen Hurts touchdown pass to DeAndre Swift, who broke a tackle and got into the end zone to put the Eagles up 14-3. So at this point, the offense was looking good for the most part. I mean, they had that one kind of fluky turnover, but they had moved the ball consistently, and they were 2 for 2 in the red zone. But there was still one thing though. The Eagles had yet to establish any sort of a running game. Pretty much all their damage was coming through the air, and against a Jets defense that was ranked 29th against the run coming in, this was head-scratching to say the least, especially since the Eagles hadn't really tried to run the ball. I mean, Jalen Hurts was just dropping back to throw pretty much every play, so that wasn't ideal, but it hadn't hurt them too bad yet. But it's safe to say that was about to change. Now, real quick, before we continue on with the rest of the video, I just want to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been consistently watching the videos, you're enjoying them, and you love the Philadelphia Eagles and don't want to miss any coverage coming throughout the rest of the season, make sure you fix that right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now, with that being said, let's get back into the video. So that next drive before half, the Eagles defense got another decent stop, holding the Jets to 3 points, in which both Jordan Davis and Brandon Graham combined for a sack, forcing the field goal unit to come out. So at this point, the score was 14-6, and this was now a great opportunity for the Eagles to potentially blow the game open. I mean, they had 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go before half, and if they scored here, especially a touchdown, that not only would give them a sizable lead, but also they got the ball to start the second half, where theoretically they could score again and really start pouring it on. But sadly, that didn't happen, as after a productive 2 plays, what I think was the turning point in the game happened, in which DeAndre Swift caught a 4-yard pass, but then fumbled after a hit by CJ Mosley, and Jets linebacker Quincy Williams recovered it. And that turnover then set the Jets up right on the edge of field goal range, and they got 3 points off of it. So instead of widening the score gap, it actually closed a bit before half. Of course, that's not the end of the world, but it was a crucial moment in the game. And then when you come out in the second half and stall out after a huge drop by DeVonta Smith, which is completely uncharacteristic, and a big sack on Jalen Hurts, that certainly doesn't help. But the defense had the offense's back once again. I mean, really, if it weren't for the defense in this game, things could have got a lot uglier. I mean, all things considered, they played really well, as they forced the Jets punt on that next drive, and then on the ensuing drive, the Eagles couldn't do anything as they had a 3-and-out after Kenneth Gainwell dropped what should have been a fairly easy catch on 3rd down, but the defense again bailed the offense out, holding the Jets to just a field goal, which with all the offensive struggles is definitely a win. And on this drive specifically, Haason Reddick had a massive sack in the red zone, and he was really one of the Eagles' big bright spots in this game. He ended the day with 2.5 sacks, and ever since getting that cast off his thumb, Reddick has just been phenomenal. I mean, he's got 16 pressures and 5.5 sacks since then, so shout out to him. He's been a huge contributor over the past few weeks, and a big reason that the Eagles were even in this game. But moving on to the next drive, the Eagles' offensive struggles continued, as after a good start to the drive, the Birds had their 3rd turnover of the day, with Jalen Hurts throwing another interception. This one I'd say he had some fault on, but I'd mainly give the blame to Jack Driscoll, who got beat by Jermaine Johnson as he hit the arm of Jalen Hurts when he was throwing, causing the ball to flutter into the air and ended up resulting in a pick by Bryce Hall. So there you see the most obvious example of the Eagles missing Lane Johnson, which was just felt throughout the game in general. But once again, the Eagles defense did their job, as they held the Jets offense to another 3-and-out, this time aided by the help of a Josh Sweat sack on 1st down, and the Eagles got the ball back, and they were finally able to put together a decent drive, going down the field to get into the red zone. And there were some big plays on the drive, including a huge completion down the left sideline to A.J. Brown, on what was just a great throw and catch by 2 great players. But then the Eagles' red zone offense issues reappeared as they were stalled out and forced to kick a 37-yard field goal, which wasn't ideal at all, but at least they had guaranteed points, because there's no way Jake Elliott misses a 37-yard field goal. Fight! And this was the point where I really started to get a bad feeling. I mean, it just seemed like everything was going wrong at this point. But luckily, the defense provided hope yet again, forcing a Jets punt after Haason Reddick and Milton Williams combined for a sack. So now we're in the 4th quarter and we're at a very crucial point. The offense is going to get the ball back with about 5 minutes to go, and if they just keep possession and they keep converting, they can pretty much run the clock all the way down and come away with the win despite not playing well at all on offense. The Eagles started the drive well. They moved the chains twice and got the clock down to the 2-minute warning, and they eventually came up on a 3rd and 9 play where if they converted, the game would be over. Cue arguably the worst throw of Jalen Hurts' entire NFL career, as he lofted a pass off his back foot into double coverage that was picked off by Tony Adams, and he returned it all the way to the 8-yard line. And really, there are a variety of things that make this play so bad. I mean, for one, what is Hurts even looking at? I mean, that's just a poor read, which he admitted in his post-game press conference, and it came at such a crucial time. I mean, even if the Eagles don't convert here, you can punt and give your defense, which has been playing amazing, a chance to close the game out. But instead, you put your opponent on the 8-yard line, where in one play they just handed the ball off to Bryce Hall and he walked into the end zone, which it kind of looked like the Eagles just let him score so they could get the ball with the most time possible, which I actually thought was smart. But regardless, that's just a horrible position to put your team in. But still, despite how bad they looked, the offense had one more chance to go down the field, score, and get out of there with a win. So what did they do with it? 4 plays, 2 yards, turnover on downs, ending in a deep heave into double coverage to DeVonta Smith, which was incomplete, and the game was then over. So just like that, the Eagles lost their first game of the year to the New York Jets, and the Jets, they got their first win over the Eagles in franchise history. Now, there's no doubt, this was really embarrassing. Multiple people deserve blame, Jalen Hurts certainly being one of them. I mean, I don't think he played quite as bad as people are saying, because let's be fair, both of those first 2 picks weren't really his fault, and he was honestly carrying the offense in the first half, and he did make some really nice throws. It was just those last 2 drives where he completely sold. I mean, that interception was inexcusable, but hey, it happens. The best quarterbacks in the NFL make mistakes. No one is safe from it, and Sunday just just wasn't Hurts' day, nor was it the offense's day as a whole. I mean, everyone made mistakes. They had some big drops, miscommunications, fumbles, just stuff that we're not used to seeing from them. I mean, when you turn the ball over 4 times in a game, you should expect to lose, and that's exactly what happened. Now, I will say, the thing that pissed me off the most about the offense was Brian Johnson's play calling. Specifically, his refusal to try and establish the run game. I mean, why? When you are one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL, with a great running back and dominant offensive line, albeit with some injuries, while you're also going up against the 29th ranked run defense in the league, why are you giving just 14 carries to running backs and dropping back Jalen Hurts over 50 times to throw the ball, which resulted in 45 pass attempts? It just doesn't make any sense, and we've really been saying that about Coach Johnson's play calling all year. Plus, the red zone offense has just been baffling, so I don't know. I know we're just through week 6 and we still got plenty of time to figure it out, but I gotta say, I'm not a fan of Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator or him calling plays. He just hasn't been smart enough, and this is what I'm saying could be the ultimate downfall of this Eagles team. I mean, they have so much talent, but if it's not utilized correctly, and if they don't fix these issues and put it all together, this team's not going back to the Super Bowl. They just aren't. Now, that being said, it's important not to overreact to just one loss. I mean, the Eagles had a game like this last year versus Washington. They had a game like this 2 years ago versus the Giants, and they bounced back from both. These games happen, and now it's just about how the team responds. Jalen Hurts said that after the game. It really does seem like the Eagles are realizing the importance of holding themselves accountable in this time. It was reported after the game that Nick Sirianni didn't even speak to the team in the locker room. It was instead players like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Fletcher Cox, and Hassan Reddick that spoke to the team about accountability, which is great leadership by those guys, and Jason Kelce also said that they just need to look themselves in the mirror. So overall, despite how horrible this loss was, I'm not too worried. I trust this team's mentality. I feel like they probably have a greater sense of urgency now that they've actually lost, but again, they do have to fix some things, and we've been saying that all season, but it's true, so we'll see if this loss is what they needed. Now, lastly, I do want to go over some injury news from this game, as along with Lane Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Eli Ricks, and Bradley Roby all went down with injuries. We'll get some news on the severity of those later in the week, and I'll do my best to keep you guys updated in some way or another. But yeah, with all that being said, what do you guys think of this loss to the Jets? And also, if you did enjoy this video, make sure again you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos like it coming in the future. Also, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy to show some support, and also if you want to watch another video, you can go watch this one right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.